Hey guys, tonight we're diving into one of the greatest survival flexes in human history. How Native Americans built teepees that stayed warm and comfortable at temperatures where modern humans start panicking because the thermostat dropped just a few degrees. Before we get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. When you imagine a home built to survive winters at minus 30 degrees, the kind of cold that makes your eyelashes question their life choices, you might picture something heavy, fortified, and aggressively unwelcoming. Thick stone walls, tiny windows, a fireplace so big it qualifies as a roommate. Basically a medieval castle without the castle. But the people who actually thrived in that environment weren't living in stone cubes. They were living in the teepee. These are elegant aerodynamic structures that look simple from a distance, but are secretly smarter than half the buildings we construct today. And let me be blunt, teepees don't get nearly enough credit. If Europeans had invented these things, they would have written operas about them. There would be paintings titled Ode to the Perfect Cone, entire architectural programs dedicated to the sacred geometry of portable warmth. But because this brilliance came from indigenous peoples, a shocking number of history books shrug and say, a kind of tent. That's like calling a NASA spacecraft a metal canoe with ambition. What blows my mind is how perfectly the teepee works with the environment. It doesn't try to fight the wind, it slices through it. The conical design creates an aerodynamic profile that forces the wind to press down on the structure, actually stabilizing it instead of pushing it over. It doesn't try to hold snow, it shrugs it off. Modern houses could never. They see one snowflake and immediately panic about roof damage. The teepee's response? Cute. Try harder. And honestly, I admire that. It's architectural confidence. Here's my personal opinion. The teepee might be one of the smartest human inventions ever created. It's portable, it's insulated, it's ventilated, it's warm in winter, and remarkably, it's cool in summer. It's easy to repair. It's easy to move. Even IKEA furniture can't compete with that list. And IKEA furniture comes with an instruction manual that looks like a hostage note. The engineering starts with the raw material, the poles. For the tribes of the plains, the choice wasn't random. It was a specific tree, the lodgepole pine, that was prized for its straightness, durability, and resilience. People didn't just walk into the woods, point dramatically, and yell, "That one." They understood exactly which trees worked and which ones didn't. And here comes my personal opinion. This is where indigenous engineering truly humbles modern people. Most of us can't pick a ripe avocado without causing emotional distress, yet these communities selected structural materials with mathematical confidence. Once cut and prepared, the poles were arranged into a tripod, the foundation of the teepee. Then the rest of the poles were added in a precise spiral pattern. This wasn't just for looks, though it does look fantastic. The spiral helped distribute weight evenly, allowed snow to glide off gracefully, and created a cage-like structure strong enough to resist fierce gusts. Then came the covering. Traditionally, this was made from many pieces of bison or deer hide, tanned and softened. The process of sewing them together was an art form. It wasn't grab a needle and hope for the best. It took skill, patience, and generations of perfected technique. The hides were softened, shaped, and stitched using sinew, the tendon material from the animal. Sinew is incredibly durable, flexible, and far superior to most threads found today. I personally believe modern sewing tools would cry if they saw what sinew could do. You could lasso a small car with that stuff. Once sewn, the covering became a single massive sheet, a winter cloak large enough to shame any medieval king. Draping it over the teepee wasn't chaotic or improvised. It was done in a specific, efficient way, making the whole structure both waterproof and insulated. But the true stroke of genius is at the very top, the smoke flaps. To an outsider, they just look like two ears of hide or canvas, flapping politely in the wind. But to anyone who has ever lived through a winter fire in an enclosed space, these flaps are nothing short of heroic. They are, in essence, the teepee's climate control system, centuries before anyone invented thermostats, chimneys, or the modern obsession with smart home technology. The smoke flaps controlled the ventilation of the teepee. When the central fire burned, usually small, steady, and well-managed, it produced smoke that naturally rose toward the top. The flaps, directed by long poles, were adjusted based on the wind to create a perfect draft, pulling the smoke out. This constant exhaust of smoke created a slight vacuum inside, which then pulled fresh, clean air in from the perimeter, specifically from the open gap around the base, which was often covered by an interior lining. This kept the air continually cycling, giving you warmth without smoke and creating a truly livable, breathable space. The teepee wasn't just a shelter, it was a survival machine, perfectly adapted, perfectly efficient, and perfectly suited to a world trying daily to freeze you into a decorative ice sculpture. And that, my friends, is why people inside a teepee stayed alive. Good night.